This was absolutely not supposed to happen. For decades, we had been tracking the receding spacecraft, fully confident that we understood the environment. The instruments were supposed to record only the fading echo of the solar wind and the steady background of the void. Instead, deep space suddenly sent us data devoid of any physical meaning. The familiar voice of the distant probe turned into a terrifying chaos of alternating zeros and ones. Our best scientists stared at the monitor screens and refused to believe their own eyes. The telemetry received did not match any of the existing mathematical or physical models. By all calculations, at such a gigantic distance from the star, space should be calm. The probe had long since crossed the line where any perceptible influence of our native sun ends. However, the numbers being sent back stubbornly insisted that something unimaginable was happening out there. We had always thought of the boundary of our solar system as something like a quiet, smooth threshold. Astronomy textbooks had shown us neat diagrams of the gradual dissolution of solar plasma into the interstellar medium. Researchers expected to see a smooth transition from the familiar world into the cold interstellar void. But the reality our envoy encountered turned out to be far more aggressive and unpredictable. At the edge of the world we knew, an invisible storm of colossal and terrifying proportions was raging. The system failure occurred completely out of the blue, shattering the illusion of our complete control over the situation. The old onboard computer suddenly stopped sending intelligible information about the status of its scientific instruments. Earth-based deep space communication stations began receiving an endless, repeating binary code. It looked as though someone or something had deliberately driven the electronic mind mad. The encrypted message from the abyss remained indecipherable for long, agonizing months. Engineers spent days on end checking the software for a simple error or a random technical glitch. They sent dozens of command packets in the hope of rebooting the frozen systems of the distant ship. But each time, the same meaningless pattern of identical symbols returned. The situation was exacerbated by the fact that the signal took nearly a full day to reach Earth one way. Every attempt to rectify the situation turned into an interminably long wait for the inevitable failure. With each new week of eerie silence, anxiety in the scientific community only grew. Experts began to realize that they were facing a phenomenon beyond the scope of a simple malfunction. The pressure of the unknown interstellar medium turned out to be completely different from what classical Earth science had predicted. The probe entered a zone where the basic principles of its equipment began to fail catastrophically. We sent the machine into the void, but the void turned out to be full of destructive and invisible energy. This incident forced us to radically rethink our entire naive picture of the surrounding cosmos. We had grown accustomed to thinking that the universe is vast, logical, and completely comprehensible to the human mind. It seemed to us that it was enough simply to fly beyond the boundaries of the solar system to see a smooth void. However, our very first steps into the true interstellar environment revealed our complete incompetence. We know nothing about the forces lurking beyond the protective solar bubble. Data from that distant frontier continues to arrive, and it only grows stranger. Scientists no longer believe in a peaceful and safe journey among the distant stars. Every new fragment of decoded telemetry brings more new questions than long-awaited answers. We stand on the threshold of the greatest discovery, which may turn out to be our worst nightmare. The fabric of reality is tearing at the seams, revealing a terrifying and alien abyss. Perhaps we were too hasty in claiming to understand the laws governing this universe. Our tiny probe has encountered conditions that simply have no right to exist. It has hit an invisible wall where logic gives way to chaos and radiation. And the scariest part is that there is nothing we can do to help it. We are forced to merely watch passively as our established picture of the world shatters. The story of this signal is by no means a tale of a simple technical malfunction. It is the story of the shattering of our illusions about the safety and predictability of deep space. For the first time, we have truly realized our incredible vulnerability in the face of unknown cosmic forces. What began as a routine scientific mission has turned into an existential confrontation with the unknowable. And we are only beginning to grasp the true scale of this terrifying problem. By all accounts, this ancient device shouldn't even be working right now. It was designed in the era of bulky computers and launched nearly half a century ago. Engineers built it to last only a few years of active operation. The probe was supposed to simply photograph the giant planets and quietly shut down in the cold of space. No one expected this fragile structure to outlive its creators and journey into interstellar space. Its architecture is incredibly simple by modern standards, but therein lies the secret of its longevity. At the heart of the spacecraft is a radioisotope thermoelectric generator which powers all vital systems. Inside it, plutonium slowly decays, releasing precious heat in the face of absolute cosmic cold. This heat is converted into tiny amounts of electricity, sustaining the faint beat of its mechanical heart. This nuclear power source allows the probe to withstand the biting cold of the system's distant outskirts. The computing power of the onboard computers is laughably small compared to any modern phone. The device's memory holds millions of times less information than a simple digital photograph. However, these primitive systems possess phenomenal reliability and resistance to radiation. They were designed to operate in the harshest conditions of Jupiter's and Saturn's magnetic fields. Their margin of safety proved so great that the electronics continued to function decades later. Scientists derived precise equations describing the gradual degradation of these ancient electronic components. Calculations showed that, due to power loss, the instruments would have to be shut down one by one. This process of slow death was supposed to proceed strictly according to the plan approved by the engineers. We expected the spacecraft to simply lose functions until it fell silent forever. The system seemed completely predictable and utterly understandable, right up to the very end of its journey. Engineers on Earth regularly sent commands to conserve the remaining scraps of precious energy. They turned off the camera heaters and switched the scientific instruments to the strictest power-saving mode. It was routine, calm work accompanying humanity's slowly dying envoy. Astronomers had grown accustomed to a steady, predictable stream of data from the very edge of our solar system. No surprises were anticipated or planned at such a vast distance from the Sun. It was an entirely normal and understandable model of our technological and scientific reality. We were certain that we knew every screw and every bit of memory in the probe inside and out. Its behavior in deep space was described by simple physical laws and straightforward algorithms. Researchers believed that the machine was simply drifting peacefully through the void, collecting its final data. No one even suspected that the aging electronics would encounter an insurmountable external force. We had prepared for the moment when there would not even be enough energy to send a signal. Experts had calculated in advance the date when the antenna would no longer be able to transmit over such a vast distance. It was supposed to be a quiet and natural conclusion to the greatest journey in human history. The fade-out was supposed to be the result of internal causes, the logical end of the device's lifespan. We did not expect at all that the external environment would interfere with this peaceful process. The surrounding space at this stage of the flight was considered to be as calm and serene as possible. The concentration of solar wind particles here drops to practically zero. The temperature outside the spacecraft approaches absolute zero, freezing all physical processes. In such an environment, there is simply nothing to break or disrupt the operation of the reliable onboard computers. We firmly believed that the vacuum was safe for our old mechanical traveler, but our self-assured theories crumbled to dust in the face of unknown cosmic reality. It turned out that even the engineer's most precise calculations did not account for the hidden properties of the interstellar medium. A mechanism built to last forever suddenly encountered conditions for which it was not prepared. The laws of physics, which work perfectly near Earth, began to fail at the edge of the solar system. Our spacecraft hit a barrier that wasn't supposed to be there. Instead of a quiet and predictable fade-out, we got a sharp and terrifying burst of madness. Reliable electronics suddenly began to behave as if they had been subjected to an invisible and powerful attack. The old circuits weren't just breaking down. They began generating structurally complex nonsense. This was the first wake-up call, warning us of our blindness regarding the universe. A mechanism we understood and had studied became hostage to laws of nature completely alien to us. But then, the system broke down in the most unpredictable and unbelievable way. Instead of routine reports on cosmic radiation levels, a flood of digital garbage crashed onto Earth. Telemetry sensors, which had operated for decades without a single glitch, began to output physically impossible values. The flight control computer began sending data packets that defied any logical interpretation. The signal remained strong and clear, but its content had lost all human meaning. At first, the engineers at the control center genuinely thought it was just an annoying antenna glitch. They assumed there was interference in the receiving system itself on the surface of our home planet. Specialists thoroughly rechecked the massive radio telescopes of the deep space communication network around the world. It turned out that all Earth-based equipment was functioning perfectly, receiving the signal without the slightest distortion. The problem was definitely coming from the spacecraft itself, located billions of kilometers from home. We tried to analyze this strange code, hoping to find familiar patterns in it. Programmers ran the received data through the most powerful decoders and error-checking algorithms. But the onboard computer stubbornly repeated the same cycle of incomprehensible binary symbols. This didn't look like the usual memory degradation caused by time or the harsh cold of space. It looked like a deliberate substitution of the program code by an unknown and powerful entity. The situation was rapidly deteriorating with every new communication session with the distant spacecraft. The data didn't just fail to match the expected values, it completely defied common sense. The machine seemed to have forgotten its own language of communication with its creators and switched to a foreign dialect. It continued to broadcast faithfully into the void, but its words had turned into incoherent digital gibberish. It was like a person who had suddenly lost their mind in complete solitude. The longer the scientists looked at these numbers, the less they understood what was happening. Standard procedures for recovery after a software failure failed to produce the expected results. The reboot commands sent to the probe vanished into the void, disappearing without a trace. The probe seemed to be locked inside its own mind, unresponsive to external stimuli. It continued to endlessly transmit its strange code, distorted beyond recognition. It was at this point that we realized we were facing something truly terrifying. We had always believed that we were in complete control of the mechanical devices we created. We were certain that we knew the limits of their capabilities and the causes of any possible malfunctions. But this anomaly went beyond the bounds of all human experience in space exploration. Our control turned out to be a pitiful illusion, instantly shattered by a collision with the unknown. The device, situated in the most hostile environment, suddenly began to take on a life of its own. It did not fall silent, as a broken machine should, but continued to operate actively and nonsensically. This contradicted the rules we ourselves had written for its ancient systems. The electronics refused to obey logic, giving way to a chaotic set of machine code. It felt as though an invisible force was simply playing with our communication device. The problem lay not only in the fact that the old onboard equipment had broken down. What was truly terrifying was exactly where this strange system failure had occurred. The spacecraft was in a part of space about which we know practically nothing. The only tool for exploring this abyss had suddenly stopped providing us with reliable information. We were instantly blinded at the most important and unexplored frontier of our solar system. Every megabyte of meaningless data we received only intensified our sense of global helplessness. The distance of 24 billion kilometers made any rapid intervention impossible. It took the signal nearly 2 days just to travel there and back. We watched this agony with a colossal lag in time and space. It was like watching an old recording of a crash that could not be prevented. We waited for answers from the boundless universe, but received only mocking digital noise. This anomaly brutally shattered our faith in the reliability of Earth's technology in deep space. We thought we were capable of reaching with our minds to the farthest corners of the interstellar medium. Instead, we received a harsh reminder of the limits of our own understanding of reality. And with each passing day, those limits seemed increasingly fragile and unreliable. And here the situation becomes significantly worse than all the initial cautious predictions. This turned out to be not just a temporary eclipse or a one-time glitch in the transmission of information. An incomprehensible binary anomaly continued to reach Earth day after day without interruption. We were receiving a continuous stream of meaningless zeros and ones. Scientists desperately tried to find at least some logic in this repeating digital nightmare. But every new attempt at decryption led only to yet another dead end and disappointment. At first, engineers hypothesized that a powerful cosmic particle had struck by chance. High-energy rays are indeed capable of piercing through electronics and altering the values of memory bits. In space exploration, this phenomenon has long been known and is considered a common risk during long-duration flights. This logical and reassuring explanation offered hope for a quick solution to the problem. It seemed that all that was needed was to find the damaged section of memory and rewrite it. Specialists prepared complex algorithms to scan every byte in the old ship's brain. They planned to conduct a full diagnostic of the onboard computer directly across the vastness of space. The process required precision and immense patience from the entire control team. The radio signal took nearly a full day to reach the spacecraft one way. Therefore, any attempt to test or upload a patch took an agonizingly long time. Step by step, the engineers probed the electronic circuits in search of a single damaged bit. But reality quickly shattered this convenient and straightforward technical hypothesis. It turned out that the damage was not local, but global in nature. The spacecraft hadn't simply forgotten a single command or lost a short piece of code. It had completely lost the ability to form meaningful telemetry packets to send back home. The onboard computer continued to function, but its connection to the outside world had been severed. The flight data subsystem, responsible for packaging information, had completely gone haywire. It began cyclically transmitting a memory fragment that contained no useful information. It was like a stuck record on an old gramophone. The key feature of this anomaly was its frightening stability and predictability. The error did not progress chaotically. It was stuck in the same strange rhythm. This did not resemble a processor failure resulting from ordinary physical wear and tear. It was as if some invisible parasitic program had taken control and begun dictating its own rules. The probe obediently executed this erroneous algorithm, completely ignoring any of our commands. It sent the same data pattern over and over again every second. Any attempts at external intervention crashed against this impenetrable digital wall. The specialists at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory worked around the clock, trying to find workarounds. They pored over dusty blueprints from half a century ago in search of hidden vulnerabilities in the system. Engineers had to recall programming languages that had long since fallen out of widespread use. Every line of the old code was meticulously checked for possible errors. The team literally lived in the control center, forgetting about normal sleep and rest. The team tried to force the machine to switch to backup memory units. We sent signals to restart the backup processors and secondary communication subsystems, but the old computer seemed frozen in this endless cycle of binary trance. All our commands vanished without a trace into the dark abyss of interstellar space. The spacecraft stubbornly continued to broadcast its incomprehensible, meaningless mantra. Astrophysicists began to seriously doubt the nature of the space where the spacecraft was located. Classical theories had long maintained that the interstellar medium was empty and practically harmless to technology. It was assumed to be in a state of absolute calm, with a minimal number of free energetic particles. But the facts stubbornly indicated that the probe had been subjected to a destructive external force. This forced the scientific community to reevaluate its fundamental understanding of the boundaries of our solar system. We began to suspect that the radiation density beyond our solar system is significantly higher than expected. Our little envoy may have found itself caught in the crossfire of monstrous cosmic radiation. If this bold hypothesis is correct, then our understanding of the safety of deep space is profoundly flawed. The environment is not a calm ocean on which one can sail peacefully. It is a raging radiation storm of unprecedented power. Any unprotected mechanism in such conditions is doomed to a swift and inevitable demise. Delicate electronics are destroyed by the frequent impacts of heavy charged particles. And our old probe simply became the first random victim of this hostile force of nature. We sent it blindly, barely suspecting the true dangers of this great journey. Humanity was far too optimistic in its assessment of its chances of easily conquering the interstellar voids. The problem was that we couldn't see beyond this invisible barrier. The broken probe was our only eyes in that part of deep space. We simply had no other spacecraft at such a vast distance. Without its telemetry, we were once again blind and helpless observers on Earth. Science instantly took a step back several decades in the study of the heliosphere's boundaries. We lost a crucial opportunity to measure plasma density in the interstellar void. Valuable data on magnetic field strengths no longer reached our giant antennas. Humanity found itself locked inside its own system, unable to break through to the outside world for information. Each day of tense anticipation only intensified the general sense of mounting scientific panic. It seemed as though space had slammed a heavy, invisible door shut in our faces. We had absolutely no idea why the anomaly was so stubbornly resisting any attempts at remote repair. This did not fit at all into the usual framework of failures in half-century-old equipment. There was a persistent feeling that the void itself was resisting our presence there. It seemed as if it were deliberately breaking our fragile instruments to keep its great secrets safe. The edge of the solar system turned out to be far more hostile than anyone could have predicted. And the more we thought about it, the more terrifying our conclusions became. We finally realized that we had absolutely no control over the situation at the edge of the solar system. Our minds are not yet capable of comprehending the scale of the processes occurring in the interstellar medium. The anomaly had transformed from a routine technical problem into a symbol of our global scientific impotence. And the worst was yet to come, as we began to rethink our fundamental models. This is not just a local technical glitch somewhere at the very edge of our system. If the spacecraft was indeed damaged by the external environment, it completely changes the entire architecture of space. For many years, We confidently taught in schools that the sun is surrounded by a vast and tranquil bubble. We believed that our star reliably shields us from external cosmic threats. This protective cocoon smoothly transitions into the quiet and uniform void of interstellar gas. But the latest data from the damaged probe has forced us to completely rethink this outdated picture. It turns out that the boundary of the heliosphere is nothing like a calm, sandy ocean shore. It is more like a gigantic, constantly seething wall of superheated plasma. It is there that the solar wind collides at tremendous speed with the harsh interstellar radiation. The spectacle of this invisible physical collision must be truly terrifying. Beyond this invisible boundary, particles from deep space continuously collide with our magnetic shield. Colossal bursts of energy occur, yet they remain completely invisible to ordinary optical telescopes on Earth. The force of these collisions exceeds that of any similar phenomena on Earth by millions of times. Our small spacecraft passed through this veritable inferno and miraculously survived. Its hull absorbed the impact of incredible destructive power. This unexpected discovery takes the problem to a completely new, truly cosmic level. These severe phenomena occur not only around our own sun, but absolutely everywhere. Every star in the universe is surrounded by a similar seething barrier of radiation and plasma. Every planetary system is tightly locked within its own magnetic cage. This means that the space between stars is by no means a quiet highway. It is filled with an extremely aggressive environment that is highly hostile to any complex electronics. We are beginning to clearly see these similar, frightening patterns in a wide variety of computer models. Astrophysicists are hurriedly recalculating the equations, and the new results are causing serious concern for our future. It turns out that the interstellar medium exerts colossal physical pressure. This external pressure continuously and relentlessly compresses our native heliosphere. Magnetic bubbles at the edge of our solar system can burst unexpectedly under such stress. This triggers powerful radiation storms that sweep through space. It was precisely such an invisible storm that could have pierced the thin hull of our distant probe. This energy surge could easily have damaged its fragile electronic memory. Such storms make navigation at the edge of the solar system practically impossible. If all of this is indeed true, then this discovery changes absolutely everything in modern astronomy. For many years, we naively believed that traveling to other stars would require only a great deal of time. It seemed to us that all we needed to do was build a very fast ship, and the void would be kind to us. Scientists dreamed of giant arcs drifting peacefully among distant constellations. Now, we clearly understand that any interstellar flight will be like a journey through a war zone. Future spacecraft will be subjected to a continuous bombardment of high-energy particles every second of flight. Protection against such radiation will require incredibly heavy and massive armor. Layer by layer, we are taking off our familiar rose-colored glasses and looking harsh reality straight in the eye. The universe was not originally designed for biological species to travel through it comfortably. Our bodies are too fragile for such hostile environmental conditions. The galaxy is densely filled with deadly radiation of various spectra and intensities. So far, only the sun's powerful magnetic field saves us from this all-pervading radiation. Venturing beyond the limits of this natural shield is akin to emerging from a submarine at the very bottom of the ocean. The immense pressure of the external environment would instantly crush any unprepared structure or mechanism. Humans will have to create perfect artificial protection for ultra-long-distance flights. We suddenly realized just how thick and sturdy these invisible walls turned out to be. Our old probe was able to overcome them, only thanks to its unique history of creation. It was saved by the primitive, rugged architecture of its communication systems, dating back to the 1970s. Those systems used large electronic components that are less susceptible to radiation-induced malfunctions. Modern, ultra-sensitive electronics would have been guaranteed to be fried by this force of nature within the first few weeks. This fact gives rise to an extremely unpleasant technological paradox. The more complex and sophisticated we make our new ships, the more vulnerable they become in open space. Delicate microchips can be rendered inoperable by a single stray ion. Our advanced technologies are becoming our greatest weakness in the face of interstellar forces. We will have to relearn how to build durable and interference-resistant machines. This harsh rule applies absolutely everywhere, in every star system, without the slightest exception. Any advanced civilization will inevitably face this same seething wall when attempting to leave its home. This astonishing discovery may be one of the main reasons for that very great cosmic silence. Perhaps powerful radiation barriers securely lock other intelligent species deep within their planetary systems. Leaving one's home star turns out to be too difficult a task, even for advanced minds. The deeper we delve into a detailed analysis of this environment, the more clearly we see its cold cruelty. We are like small, frightened children who have peered over the fence of their cozy yard for the first time. What we saw there made us quickly recoil in silent horror before the dark unknown. Our first tentative step into the vast cosmos resulted in very serious technical losses and failures. We were completely unprepared to encounter the true face of the universe. And now we come to the most alarming aspect of this cosmic drama. If our models are wrong at the edge of the system, they may be wrong absolutely everywhere. For decades, astrophysicists have built a coherent picture of a safe and predictable cosmos. We have grown accustomed to thinking of our planet as safely sheltered from any external disturbances. But now, this is not just an abstract problem of distant star clusters or alien planets. New data is shattering established dogmas and forcing us to rethink the basic principles of safety. This directly concerns our own survival on this tiny blue planet. We are completely dependent on the stability of our protective bubble in this hostile ocean of radiation. Without the magnetosphere and heliosphere, Earth would quickly turn into a dead and scorched desert. A similar fate has long befallen other rocky worlds lacking natural armor. Therefore, any threat to our magnetic shield is taken with the utmost seriousness by the scientific community. We must be aware of potential dangers long before they emerge. Scientists have begun to realize that the heliosphere is by no means a rigid and unchanging shield. It is not a monolithic concrete wall, but rather a mobile and flexible membrane. It constantly breathes, pulsates, and changes its dimensions depending on solar activity. When our star calms down, the flow of its particles weakens and loses momentum. At times, the pressure of the aggressive interstellar medium begins to strongly outweigh the solar wind. During such periods, our cosmic home becomes extremely vulnerable. At such moments, the invisible safety boundary rapidly contracts, approaching the inner planets of the system. The plasma bubble buckles under the onslaught of heavy galactic ions and cosmic rays. This means that the wall of deadly radiation could one day come too close to Earth. If the heliosphere contracts critically, streams of harmful particles will pour directly onto us. The level of background radiation on the planet's surface could increase manyfold in just a couple of years. The consequences of such a breach for the biosphere would be simply catastrophic. For too long, we have naively believed that we are completely safe at the center of our system. It seemed to us that the surrounding space was static and completely empty for many light years around. But now, it has become absolutely clear that we are sailing through different regions of galactic space. The solar system is hurtling through its orbit around the center of the Milky Way at tremendous speed. Our solar system is currently passing through a local interstellar plasma cloud. This vast cluster of rarefied but hot gas is slowly enveloping our protective cocoon. The density of this invisible gas can change sharply and unpredictably over time. Clumps of matter create dangerous and uneven pressure on our fragile magnetic shield. We have absolutely no idea what awaits us around the next bend of the galactic arm in the near future. Astronomers are merely attempting to draw up a rough map of these gas nebulae and dust clouds. But our instruments are still too weak to accurately forecast space weather for millennia to come. We are moving into the unknown with our eyes closed, relying solely on luck. This sudden breakdown of the old spacecraft at the edge of the system served as a warning to us on a global scale. The distant probe was the first to take the brunt of the impact, which vividly demonstrated to us the true density of the outer void. It served as a sort of canary in the coal mine of deep space. We obtained irrefutable proof of the immense destructive force raging beyond the heliosphere. If this invisible radiation is so powerful that it can physically rewrite machine code, it is guaranteed to kill living beings. The cells of the human body are far more fragile than the transistors of the 1970s. Ultra-high-energy cosmic radiation easily pierces even the densest metal armor. It introduces fatal errors into the functioning of complex molecules and mercilessly destroys the structure of DNA. Biological life beyond Earth's magnetosphere is exposed to an incredible and constant risk. Every minute spent in open space accumulates invisible and deadly damage to the body. Humans are simply not naturally adapted to survive under such a barrage of heavy particles. We are too delicate creatures for the harsh realities of the galactic frontier. All our ambitious dreams of colonizing other planets have suddenly run up against a harsh physical barrier. A journey even to neighboring Mars means completely leaving the confines of our planet's powerful protective field. During the months-long flight, astronauts will be completely exposed to the very particles that drove the ancient computer mad. The spacecraft will have to plow through a veritable radiation storm without reliable shelter. The thin walls of the living module will not stop the stream of high-energy galactic ions. Unfortunately, we have not yet developed technologies capable of effectively and easily protecting the crew from such intense radiation. A fundamentally different approach to the design of interplanetary spacecraft is required. Engineers may have to use massive water tanks or super-powerful artificial magnets. The illusion of easy and safe space exploration has been shattered by harsh physical realities. Now, every manned mission requires unprecedented safety precautions. The price of a ticket to the stars has risen several hundredfold. This daunting problem is rapidly ceasing to be a purely academic puzzle for theorists. We have realized with horror that our global security hangs by a very thin thread of space weather. Events beyond our sight can have a direct impact on every home on Earth. A powerful and intense flare from a nearby supernova could easily blow away our protective heliosphere like a light feather. The shock wave from the death of a neighboring sun would destroy the magnetic dome in a matter of months. If such a scenario were to unfold, Earth would find itself completely defenseless against a colossal flood of galactic radiation. The atmosphere would begin to slowly break down, allowing deadly ultraviolet rays to reach the surface. This is not merely a philosophical concept from science fiction novels. It is an absolutely real physical threat to our existence as a species on this planet, and we have absolutely no means of protection against catastrophes of such unimaginable scale. All we can do is hope for the mercy of a cruel universe. Moreover, our entire modern infrastructure is critically vulnerable to cosmic anomalies. We are completely dependent on fragile communication satellites, precise navigation systems, and vast global power grids across the planet. Humanity has entangled the globe in a dense web of wires and sensitive sensors. A powerful, sudden burst of radiation could quickly disable all the delicate microelectronics in near-Earth space. Screens will go dark, the internet will vanish, and navigation systems will cease to show the correct path. We could lose all the key achievements of digital civilization almost instantly due to the random whim of an invisible void. Society would plunge into informational chaos, paralyzing transportation and hospitals. Our arrogant technological armor has proven too thin and unreliable for the true cosmic scale. Nature is capable of flipping the switch on our artificial habitat with a single snap of its fingers. This is forcing engineers to rethink the resilience standards for all electronics being developed. But it is impossible to completely shield ourselves from space while on this planet. The observations of modern astronomers are becoming increasingly alarming with every new large-scale discovery. Peering into the depths of space, they see how other star systems are periodically subjected to complete sterilization by radiation. Gamma-ray bursts regularly scorch entire planetary sectors, destroying potential hotbeds of biological evolution. This leads us to the sad realization that life in the universe is by no means the norm. It is an incredibly rare, fortunate, and extremely fragile physical exception to the harsh laws of chaos. We have been incredibly fortunate to emerge during a remarkably peaceful period in the development of our planetary system. Earth has flourished for millions of years thanks to the Sun's fortunate location on the outskirts of a quiet galactic province. But this golden age of safety cannot and will not last forever. Space weather changes cyclically, and one day a storm will inevitably reach our shores. We must use this quiet time to prepare for the coming massive storms. Recognizing this grim reality forever changes the very essence of our relationship with the cosmos and our place within it. We no longer gaze at distant stars with naive, childlike joy and the anticipation of easy, swift victories. The mesmerizing twinkle of the night sky now conceals a hidden and menacing power. We clearly understand that we are tightly surrounded by a dark abyss capable of destroying us at any moment. Earth's safety turned out to be nothing more than a temporary and very fragile gift of nature. Our old and faithful probe, which tragically lost its mind at the very edge of the solar system, has completed its final mission. At the cost of its own electronic mind, it transmitted its most important and valuable message to us. This information has forced the entire scientific world to wake up and recognize its vulnerabilities. We have looked into the face of true cosmic chaos and witnessed its true power. And this message is simple. Reality is far more terrifying than we ever imagined. Despite their complete lack of understanding of the situation, the engineers on Earth refused to give up without a fight. The mission control team was determined to save their distant mechanical scout at all costs. They began analyzing the incoming repetitive binary code with almost maniacal persistence and the utmost attention. Hundreds of meters of printouts filled the desks in the flight control center. For days on end, specialists tried to find at least some meaningful pattern or hidden structure in this solid wall of digital noise. It was incredibly painstaking work, much like deciphering the complex language of a long-dead and forgotten civilization. Every combination of zeros and ones was meticulously checked for strict correspondence with the spacecraft's old architectural schematics. Engineers searched for the slightest clues that might shed light on the cause of the software paralysis. The probe's computer was built using technologies that today can only be found in technical museums. Therefore, to solve the puzzle, they had to bring in industry veterans who had created these systems many decades ago. Soon, the joint team of experts made a truly astonishing and, at the same time, incredibly frightening discovery. After long weeks of fruitless attempts, they were finally able to decipher the structure of the incoming signal. The anomalous data stream was not simply a random set of broken pixels or meaningless chaotic radio noise. It turned out that we were receiving a very specific segment of the old onboard computer's RAM. The probe methodically and obediently relayed this fragment in a loop without a single pause. The device was deeply stuck in a state of endlessly reading the same damaged section of memory. The system tried to pack and send the data, but kept running into a broken bit and would start the whole process over again. It was like a robot's mad dance, executing a single looped command, as if the needle of an old vinyl record player were stuck fast on a deeply scratched record. The melody broke off, repeating the same distorted chord forever into the void of cold space. But what exactly caused such an exceptionally reliable machine to get stuck in this endless and meaningless digital loop? The probe had operated flawlessly for over 40 years, in the harshest and coldest conditions without a single serious malfunction. We still cannot completely rule out the frightening hypothesis of external, deliberate, and intelligent interference. In the boldest behind-the-scenes theories, the possibility of direct contact with the probe by an unknown and alien form of life was seriously discussed. After all, the spacecraft was specifically designed as humanity's messenger to distant worlds. If an intelligent being did indeed find our flying craft, they could undoubtedly have attempted to read its meager memory. Extraterrestrial researchers could have connected to the spacecraft's systems to study information about its creators. But a rough scan of primitive Earth electronics using overly powerful alien technologies could have gone awry. Such an intrusion could very well have caused a short circuit or precisely such a fatal software glitch. We could have lost contact with the probe just at the moment of the most long-awaited contact in history. Of course, this bold idea sounds like cheap science fiction, but in the face of complete ignorance, we are forced to seriously consider absolutely everything. We deliberately sent the spacecraft into interstellar space, secretly hoping for a long-awaited encounter with extraterrestrial intelligence. We ourselves solemnly affixed the famous golden record with sounds and images of our planet to its hull. It bore the precise coordinates of Earth relative to the nearest known pulsars. This was our sincere invitation to a cosmic dialogue, sent into the boundless ocean of the unknown. Perhaps someone did indeed find this message drifting in the void and attempted to establish direct technical contact with the spacecraft. Another intelligence might have perceived the probe as a primitive toy or a strange artifact from the distant past. But the gap in technological advancement between the two civilizations proved so vast and insurmountable. This awkward and crude contact inevitably led to the instantaneous destruction of the old computer's delicate machine logic. Instead of answers to fundamental questions, we received nothing but looping binary gibberish. But even if we completely set aside mysticism, science fiction, and conspiracy theories, the harsh physical reality is no less frightening. Most scientists lean toward the theory of a violent collision between the device and an invisible cosmic particle. However, if this was indeed a random radiation strike, its power and exquisite precision seem simply unbelievable. The malfunction affected exactly one tiny memory chip, leaving hundreds of other functional electronic components around it untouched. Such a coincidence seems like a statistically near impossible negative miracle. A microscopic, invisible particle traveling at immense speed pierced the thin metal shielding and flipped several vital binary bits. A 0 became a 1, and that was enough to completely paralyze the communication system. It was a perfect sniper shot by a blind cosmic force, aimed straight at the very heart of the old computing mechanism. Nature demonstrated that it doesn't need lasers or missiles to destroy our best technologies. All it takes is a single tiny ion, accelerated to sublight speeds by the explosion of a distant star. The main scientific problem is that we still know absolutely nothing about the nature of these high-energy interstellar particles. Our modern telescopes and sensors cannot predict their appearance or track their flight path. They are born in the colossal epicenters of supernova explosions and travel through the galaxy for millions of years. These death rays fly through the void, piercing through nebulae and planetary systems. Their kinetic energy is so incredibly great that it cannot be artificially reproduced, even in the most powerful giant terrestrial colliders. A direct collision with such a high-speed particle is equivalent to being struck by a heavy microscopic atomic nucleus, traveling at nearly the speed of light. This is a colossal release of energy on a tiny microscopic scale, breaking the atomic bonds within materials. And our small, completely defenseless old probe simply found itself in the path of this invisible cosmic fire. It took the hit intended for the void, becoming an accidental target in the universe's vast shooting range. And now humans had to deal with the consequences of this brutal physical impact. Having finally realized the true cause of the malfunction, the engineers faced an engineering challenge of utterly incredible complexity and risk. They needed to remotely perform the most delicate neurosurgical operation on the electronic brain of a distant spacecraft. The situation was exacerbated by the colossal distance separating Earth from the probe flying through the darkness. And this operation had to be performed with a radio signal delay of nearly 2 full days in both directions. Every command sent reached its destination only the next day, and the response had to be waited for just as long. The command was required to force the computer to stop the looped reading of the damaged chip and transfer the working code to another safe location. It was necessary to physically isolate the damaged memory sector, removing it from the overall system architecture. Experts compared this incredible process to trying to repair a delicate Swiss watch while blindfolded. Moreover, instead of fine tweezers, the technician had an incredibly long, flexible, thin rod in his hands. The chances of success for such an unprecedented rescue operation were virtually zero. But the lab's top specialists mustered their strength and began writing complex code to bypass the damaged memory sector. The task was complicated by the extremely limited resources of the old computer, which had a laughably small amount of memory by today's standards. They were physically unable to send a single large repair program, as there was a catastrophic shortage of free space on board. The engineers had to resort to a clever trick and break the rescue code down into several very small and completely independent fragments. This process required ingenious ingenuity and a perfect command of old programming languages. These tiny program fragments had to be integrated with extreme precision into a system that was frozen but still functioning. Their goal was to redirect data streams without disrupting the overall fragile logic of the onboard computer. It was like performing an organ transplant on a train moving at full speed. The slightest error in the preliminary calculations or a single wrong character in a line of code would have been fatal. One wrong move would have forever turned the great historic probe into a piece of cold, utterly lifeless space debris. The entire laboratory and countless scientists around the world literally held their breath in tense anticipation. We all fully understood the precariousness of our current situation and the immense fragility of our ambitious plans. People were engaged in a desperate struggle against the very chaos of the universe, relying solely on knowledge and technology created over 40 years ago. It was truly a grand and epic confrontation between living human intellect and the cold, merciless void of interstellar space. Reason was attempting to defeat a blind, destructive force on its own territory. We desperately tried to bring our sole envoy suspended on the very edge of known reality, back to full life. He was our furthest outpost, our bridge into the great unknown. To lose him now, just as he had begun transmitting invaluable data about the new environment, would be a true tragedy. And the cost of even the slightest error in this unprecedented operation was incredibly high for all of our fundamental science. The current generation of researchers might simply never get a second chance like this. Every line of code written by the new rescue team was methodically tested on precise ground simulators dozens and hundreds of times. Duplicates of the old onboard computers were running at full capacity, testing new algorithms under various simulated conditions. The lab's engineers and programmers went weeks without sleep, trying to anticipate absolutely every possible scenario in advance. People's eyes were red from fatigue, and their nerves were stretched tight as guitar strings before a decisive performance. No one wanted to take responsibility for a possible failure of this historic mission. The general anxiety and tension reached their absolute peak just before the decisive data packet was sent straight into the deep, dark sky. Giant parabolic antennas slowly turned, aiming at the desired invisible point among the distant constellations. We prepared to deliver a pinpoint digital strike in the hope of piercing the invisible wall of madness and restoring the old probe to its right mind. The operator's finger hovered over the send button, ready to launch the signal on its long, hours-long journey through the solar system. And we had absolutely no idea whether the universe would allow us to claim this tiny victory. This incredible event laid bare a deep and disturbing vulnerability in all of modern human science. We take pride in our achievements, build giant telescopes, and send rovers to neighboring planets. We feel as though we stand on solid ground and fully understand the workings of the universe. But as soon as our old spacecraft crossed an invisible line, our confidence evaporated without a trace. We realized that our knowledge is limited to the tiny, safe space near the Sun. Beyond this familiar comfort zone, laws operate that we do not fully understand. Our physics is based on observations made from within a dense, protective magnetic bubble. We describe the universe as fish that have never surfaced in the ocean would see it. We try to extrapolate our local Earth-based laws to the entire vast and chaotic cosmos. And this incident has starkly shown us the naivety and fallacy of such an arrogant approach. We have encountered a phenomenon that cannot simply be explained by the aging of materials. The destruction of the spacecraft's code occurred according to a scenario that was not predicted by any standard model. This is not an equipment failure. It is a conflict between our primitive logic and the realities of interstellar space. The void turned out to be complex, aggressive, and teeming with particles of unimaginably high energy. It actively interacts with matter, destroying ordered structures and sowing chaos in systems. The philosophical scale of this problem terrifies scientists far more than the loss of an ancient probe. If we were so wrong in our assessment of the density and properties of the nearest interstellar space, how wrong might we be in our assessment of the nature of black holes, dark matter, or the expansion of the universe? Our entire coherent picture of the world may turn out to be nothing more than a convenient but completely false illusion. We are building sandcastles on the ocean shore, unaware of the power of the coming tide. Data from the damaged spacecraft is forcing us to rewrite astrophysics textbooks right now. Scientists can no longer ignore the influence of the external environment on our own planetary system. We must account for the immense pressure of galactic plasma in our long-term survival projections. Studying this invisible boundary is becoming critically important for the future safety of all humanity. We must understand the nature of this barrier. Otherwise, we will never be able to safely cross it. We look up at the starry sky and realize that it is not peaceful and calm. This radiant beauty conceals monstrous energy flows and radiation storms on a galactic scale. Our eyes see only a calm light, but our instruments scream of the violent forces raging there. We are surrounded by an invisible and merciless ocean, ready to crush us at the slightest mistake. Our survival is no achievement. It is merely a temporary stroke of luck in the global cosmic lottery. Realizing this fragility forces us to view our earthly conflicts and problems in a completely different light. On a cosmic scale, we are all in the same small and very vulnerable lifeboat. We have no way to escape to another planet if our magnetic shield suddenly weakens. We must protect our home because beyond its boundaries, only instant death awaits us. And that old, broken probe conveyed this vital warning to us at the cost of its own electronic intelligence. The alarm in the scientific community is now giving way to a profound existential humility in the face of the grandeur of space. We are no longer trying to conquer the universe. We are simply trying to survive and understand its rules. We are learning to listen to the silence and respect the forces that break our most reliable machines. The incident at the edge of the solar system has forever robbed us of our naive, childlike self-confidence in our own exceptionalism. We have finally grown up and realized our true, very modest place in this infinite world. The day came when the team of engineers finally approved their daring and incredibly complex plan. The rescue program had been written, tested on Earth, and was ready to be sent into the deep void. It was a surgically precise set of commands, divided into many small and safe packets. The operation was named the Poke, since we were literally going to poke the system to wake it up. A giant deep space communications antenna slowly turned toward the desired sector of the dark sky. Sending the signal took very little time, but waiting for the result turned into a real torture. The radio waves had to travel an unimaginable distance of 24 billion kilometers through the cold vacuum. The signal traveled for 22.5 hours in one direction alone, carrying the life-saving program code. Then, it took just as long to receive the long-awaited response from the damaged old computer. The engineers in the lab froze in front of their monitors, fully aware that this was their last real attempt. During this time, the device continued to be exposed to that very same unknown, aggressive interstellar environment. Every minute, new, high-energy cosmic rays invisible to the naked eye could strike its hull. No one knew if the old electronics would withstand this update process under such hellish conditions. There was a huge risk that writing new data to memory would trigger a final and irreversible failure. It was as if we were performing the most complex open-heart surgery on a patient running a marathon in a radioactive zone. The silence in the flight control center was heavy, oppressive, and almost physically palpable. People stared at the screens, which so far displayed only the old, meaningless binary noise of broken telemetry. Every passing minute seemed like an eternity, and doubts about the operation's success grew exponentially. We tried to force the ancient microchips to accept the new code and restart the algorithms with the power of our minds. It was a moment of absolute human helplessness in the face of the colossal spatial and temporal scales of space. And then, after 45 agonizing hours, the antennas picked up a faint change in the signal structure. The digital noise on the screens flickered, blinked, and suddenly gave way to a coherent stream of engineering data. The spacecraft responded, confirming the successful transfer of the code from the damaged memory sector to a safe working area. The probe began communicating with us again in the intelligible language of temperatures, voltages, and instrument readings. The incredible plan had worked, and we were able to wrest our ship from the clutches of electronic madness. Applause rang out in the lab, but it was a very quiet and incredibly cautious joy. We had won a single tiny battle, but the war against space was hopelessly lost. We had repaired the device, but we could not repair the hostile universe around it. The rescue operation only underscored our terrifying vulnerability to the laws of the interstellar environment. Our success depended on too many lucky coincidences that were unlikely to repeat themselves in the future. Engineers began rewriting the remaining programs, trying to protect them from future radiation strikes. They created duplicates of critical algorithms, scattering them across different sectors of the computer's ancient memory. It was a desperate attempt to build digital barricades against the all-pervading interstellar physical radiation. We tried to fortify the software where physical armor proved utterly powerless against the threat. But we understood perfectly well that any barricades would sooner or later fall under the onslaught of eternity. This unprecedented repair, conducted over a distance of billions of kilometers, will go down in the history of science forever. But it will not be remembered as an example of our technological omnipotence, but as a lesson in humility. We saved the spacecraft, but this victory showed us just how small and helpless we really are. We are playing with forces capable of reducing us to dust at any time they see fit. And we can only hope that the universe will allow us to exist a little longer. Now that communication has been restored, we can look at the collected data with completely new eyes. Scientists are no longer seeking confirmation of the good old theories about a peaceful and tranquil cosmos. We are looking for traces of that destructive power that nearly destroyed our spacecraft in an instant. And we find them in every line of telemetry, in every spike in the magnetic readings. The edge of our solar system turned out to be a far more dynamic and dangerous place than we had imagined. Beyond the heliosphere, particles of interstellar gas are accelerated to incredible near-light speeds. They form powerful cosmic currents that wash over our protective bubble with tremendous force. These currents carry the remnants of long-exploded stars and heavy elements of ancient matter. The collision of this external flow with our solar wind generates invisible turbulent plasma vortices. It was in just such a chaotic vortex that our probe found itself, subjected to the most brutal radiation bombardment from all sides. We realized that our planetary system is flying through this ocean at a tremendous cruising speed. We are like a small vessel, plowing through raging waves in the pitch-black darkness of space. The heliosphere acts as the ship's bow, cutting through streams of interstellar plasma and taking the brunt of the impact. But this shield is not impenetrable. It deforms and allows some radiation to pass through. And our old spacecraft showed us just how powerful this external cosmic pressure can be. The discovery of this turbulent boundary makes us reflect on the safety of our position in the galaxy. What will happen if we encounter a denser cloud of interstellar gas in our path? The pressure from outside will surge, compressing our heliosphere and allowing deadly radiation to come closer to the planets. Such an event could radically alter Earth's climate and threaten the very existence of biological life. We depend on a fragile balance of forces that we are completely unable to control. The incident involving the probe's memory failure clearly demonstrated the limits of Earth's mechanical technologies. If even primitive and reliable electronics cannot withstand the pressure of the vacuum, what will happen to humans? The idea of crewed interstellar flights now seems like an almost impossible suicidal mission. We will need protective shields of unimaginable power just to survive beyond the confines of our magnetospheric bubble. And the creation of such shields may lie beyond the physical capabilities of human civilization in principle. These facts cause deep existential anxiety among many contemporary researchers and philosophers. If the universe is so hostile to travel, perhaps we are forever trapped in our own system. Perhaps the great filter is not war or ecology, but the harsh physics of interstellar space. The radiation barriers surrounding stars serve as natural quarantine zones for all developing intelligent species. Space deliberately blocks any possibility of expansion, keeping its deadly secrets intact. This brilliantly and cruelly explains why we have yet to encounter traces of other civilizations. Even if they exist, they cannot overcome the radiation barriers of their own planetary systems. Any ship venturing into the interstellar medium would be instantly incinerated and reduced to dead metal. Their signals are distorted and absorbed by the seething plasma of the heliosphere, never reaching our Earth's hypersensitive antennas. We are all separated by insurmountable invisible walls, doomed to eternal solitude in our local worlds. We sent probes to expand our horizons, but they only revealed the strength of our confinement. Our best scout miraculously escaped certain destruction, allowing us to peer over the edge of the abyss. And what we saw there robbed us of any hope of easily conquering distant galaxies. The stars remain as unreachable as they were for our distant cave-dwelling ancestors. We have simply come to better understand the physical nature of the barriers separating us from the infinite universe. We continue to analyze the data, but now we do so with a sense of impending danger. Every new graphical spike on the monitor feels like a wave crashing against the side of our ship. We have learned to respect the power of the interstellar medium and to acknowledge our own insignificance in the face of its grandeur. The scientific optimism of the last century has finally given way to the harsh pragmatism of an era of survival in the harsh cosmos. And we understand that our trials on this path are only just beginning, not ending. The void beyond the solar system no longer seems empty to us. It is teeming with hidden threats. And we do not know what else lurks in this darkness, waiting for our careless interference. Our old spacecraft continues to fly forward, carrying with it our fears and our timid hopes. It has become more than just a scientific instrument. It has become a symbol of our desperate struggle against the inevitable end. And its story is not yet over, as long as it is capable of sending even a faint, meaningful signal. Despite the successful restoration of the system, we all understand that the end is inexorably drawing nearer with each passing day. The radioisotope generator is losing power. Its heat is dissipating irrevocably into the endless cold of the interstellar medium. The engineers are once again forced to shut down secondary instruments to conserve energy for the spacecraft's main transmitter. The probe is slowly going blind and fading away, freezing in the darkness billions of kilometers from home. But it stubbornly continues to transmit radiation data, fulfilling its mission to the very end. We know that one day there simply won't be enough energy left even for the faintest radio pulse to Earth. On that day, the massive long-range antennas will pick up nothing but natural cosmic noise. We will officially lose our farthest envoy forever, leaving it to wander in complete solitude. It will be a moment of great sorrow, but at the same time, the greatest technological triumph of all humanity. We managed to make a primitive machine operate in hellish conditions for nearly half a century. But what will happen to the spacecraft after it finally falls silent and stops responding? It will not decay. In a vacuum, there is no air or moisture for ordinary terrestrial physical oxidation. It will become a dead, cold piece of metal and plastic, hurtling through the interstellar void for millennia. The golden record with our voices and coordinates will remain on board, completely untouched by time. The probe will become a silent monument to a civilization that dared to peer beyond the limits of the known universe. It will continue its endless journey, piercing through invisible clouds of plasma and radiation storms in a distant galaxy. It will pass by alien star systems, never knowing of their existence. Perhaps, millions of years from now, its hull will be covered in a thick layer of cosmic stardust. Or it will be destroyed by a chance collision with a micrometeorite, wandering through the dark, endless abyss of interstellar space. We will never know its ultimate fate, because we will lose the ability to observe it. The death of this probe will serve as yet another stark reminder of our isolation. We will lose our only instrument capable of sensing the pressure of the interstellar medium in real physical time. We will once again be blinded, left alone with our theoretical calculations and computer mathematical models. The invisible wall at the edge of the solar system will once again become an utterly impenetrable and mysterious enigma to us. We will sit inside our protective bubble, wondering what is happening outside right now. This memory failure incident has shown us just how important it is to have a direct presence in space. Mathematical models cannot predict chaos. They merely describe an idealized version of a complex reality. Only the spacecraft's encounter with unknown radiation forced us to rethink our fundamental physical theories. Without such bold expeditions, our science risks becoming a collection of dogmas and convenient delusions. We must continue to send new machines into the void, despite all the colossal risks. But we must also understand the full responsibility of these launches and the inevitability of brutal losses. Every new mission beyond the heliosphere will face the same deadly cosmic barriers. Engineers will have to create electronics capable of withstanding a direct hit from galactic rays of incredible power. This will require a colossal technological leap, which could take many decades of continuous and arduous work. And even then, we will not be able to guarantee the complete safety of our mechanical scouts. The story of the probe's failure teaches us that space does not forgive overconfidence or mistakes. We must approach the exploration of the universe with the utmost respect and an awareness of our own vulnerability. Every bit of information we receive is paid for with incredible risk and the hard work of hundreds of talented engineers. We gather fragments of knowledge while standing on the edge of an abyss, ready to swallow us at any moment. This work requires not only genius, but also tremendous courage to acknowledge our own powerlessness. The anticipation of the device's inevitable demise creates a heavy atmosphere in laboratories across our world. Scientists strive to squeeze the most out of every communication session, knowing it might be their last. We catch these signals as one catches the last words of a dying sage who holds great secrets. And every word confirms our most terrifying suspicion. Reality is not what we think it is. It is cold, it is hostile, and it is utterly indifferent to our human existence. When the probe falls silent for good, the silence in the airwaves will be the loudest cosmic verdict for us. It will mean that we are left alone in the face of the vast and unknowable forces of the universe. We will lose our brave sentinel at the very farthest frontier of our tiny, cozy system. And all we can do is hope that the invisible walls of the heliosphere will withstand the pressure of this dark void. Because, if they collapse, we won't even have time to send a final signal. We have come a long way from a naive belief in a friendly cosmos to an awareness of our own vulnerability. This tiny spacecraft, built half a century ago, shattered our most fundamental illusions of safety. It encountered a radiation barrier that did not fit into Earth's neat physical and mathematical formulas. Its electronic brain could not withstand the pressure of the interstellar medium and plunged into a terrifying digital madness. And this failure became humanity's most sobering and brutal lesson in modern practical astronomy. We realized that our science is merely a thin film of knowledge, floating above an ocean of ignorance. All our models and theories work only within the safe bubble of our native solar system. The moment we step beyond its boundaries, reality begins to brutally shatter our instruments. Interstellar space turned out to be far from empty. It is filled with deadly energies and chaotic, seething plasma. We live in a besieged fortress, barely suspecting the power of the cosmic storm raging outside. The philosophical implications of this scientific discovery force us to completely rethink the future of the entire human species. Dreams of easy galactic expansion shatter against invisible, yet utterly impenetrable walls of radiation barriers. Perhaps we will never be able to safely leave the sphere of influence of our own star. Nature seems to have imposed a strict quarantine on biological life, isolating us on a single small planet. This thought evokes a profound existential anxiety, robbing us of hope for infinite and unfettered development. But hidden within this anxiety lies a tremendous stimulus for our further intellectual growth. The realization of our own fragility must compel us to treat our only home in the universe with greater care. We have no spare planet to which we could flee in the event of a global ecological catastrophe. Earth is our only ship in this endless, dark, and hostile cosmic space. We are obligated to preserve it. Otherwise, instant death awaits us in the icy vacuum of an alien environment. The story of decoding the anomalous signal also demonstrated the incredible power of our collective human intellect. We were able to perform remote repairs from billions of kilometers away, peering into the abyss of the machine's madness. We did not give up in the face of insurmountable circumstances, demonstrating the tenacity and ingenious engineering ingenuity of our specialists. This gives us hope that we will be able to find a way to survive even in harsher space conditions. Our intellect is our only weapon against the chaos that reigns in this infinite universe. Ultimately, we are forced to accept that we know very little about the universe. Our pride is humbled by the telemetry data received from a broken probe at the edge of a vast star system. We are no longer the masters of the universe. We are merely accidental witnesses to the grandeur of its destructive and creative forces. And this humility is the first necessary step toward a truly deep understanding of the laws of the nature that surrounds us. We stand in the face of absolute uncertainty, ready to accept any cruel cosmic challenge thrown our way. The next time you look up at the night sky, remember this little spacecraft. Remember that the radiant beauty of the stars is separated from us by a wall of seething radiation. Space looks serene only from a distance, but up close, it is deadly to all known life. We are separated from it by a fragile magnetic field that could weaken at any unforeseen moment in history. And then the abyss will stare right at us with its cold and utterly merciless, starry, dead eyes. The great cosmic silence may have a purely physical and extremely frightening cause. Other civilizations may simply not survive when attempting to breach their own heliospheric radiation barriers, or their signals may be distorted beyond recognition in these turbulent plasma vortices at the boundaries of star systems. We are all doomed to loneliness, dictated by the harsh laws of the evolution of matter and the distribution of energy in the universe. Our universe is full of invisible walls that make any direct interstellar contact physically impossible. Only one major question remains. What will we do with this terrifying truth that has come to light? Will we continue to try to break through the barrier, risking everything for the sake of a faint hope for an interstellar miracle? Or will we focus all our efforts on survival within our small but relatively safe planetary home? There is no answer yet, but every subsequent generation of modern-day explorers and philosophers will have to seek it. The time of our carefree cosmic childhood has officially ended, giving way to a harsh and responsible adult era. The probe continues its flight into the darkness, and its voice grows fainter with each passing month. Soon it will vanish forever, leaving us alone with our fears and new, unanswerable questions. But the signal it sent us in 2023 forever changed the course of Earth's history. It revealed to us the most important and most terrifying secret of the deep, interstellar, cosmic void. And that secret is this: we know nothing about what awaits us in the darkness.